It's 4:55 a.m. Falls City, Washington, Lake Alice Road. A sleepy waterfront home lies silent, wrapped in pre-dawn shadows. Until a boy's voice, jagged with panic, explodes onto a 911 line. My brother, he shot them. My mom, my dad, my siblings. They're all dead. He's gone too. The operator's voice trembles, urgent. Where are you? Who's there? The 15-year-old gasps. I'm locked in the bathroom. My brother Benjamin, 13. He just snapped, grabbed Dad's gun after a fight last night. Sirens scream to life, cutting through the fog, as deputies race toward a nightmare. A family of 7, gunned down in their beds. Mark Humiston, 48, the dad with a backyard laugh. Sarah, 45, the mom whose cookies warmed the block. Joshua, 9, dreaming of stars. Kenzie, 7, clutching her stuffed bunny. And Benjamin, the alleged killer, sprawled with a Glock in his hand. But hold on, something's wrong. The boy's voice on that call, too calm, too rehearsed. The bodies, 5, twisted in their final moments, blood staining the floors, whisper a different story. And one survivor, 11-year-old Olivia, hiding, bleeding, alive, points a trembling finger at the truth. It wasn't Benjamin, it was him, the eldest, the caller. Why would a kid erase his own family? What lie could be so sharp, so heavy, it buries everyone in its path? Stick with me. This isn't just a tragedy, it's a warning, ticking like a bomb in plain sight. Feel that dread sinking in? That fear it could happen where you are? That's why you need to hit subscribe, right now. Don't wait, don't think. If you skip this, you're gambling with the truth that could save someone you love. Not subscribing? Then storm the comments and spill why you're dodging this wake-up call. We're watching. Step back to October 21st, 2024, the Humiston house glowing softly against the lake, a haven for 7. Mark, grilling steaks, joking with neighbors. Sarah, crafting scrapbooks with her kids. Their 5 children, the 15-year-old biking trails, all easy charm. Benjamin, 13, grinning over video games. Olivia, 11, lost in novels. Joshua, 9, sketching spaceships. Kenzie, 7, twirling in glittery dresses. A lazy Saturday, coffee brewing, cartoons flickering. But before dawn, something shifts. Footsteps, soft, too careful, cross the hall. The lockbox by the door, hiding Mark's silver Glock 9mm, clicks open. One person knew that code. A hand grips the gun, cold, heavy. Then, bam! A shot rips through the quiet. Mark collapses, half out of bed. Sarah stumbles, falls next. Joshua, Kenzie, gone in seconds, rooms heavy with blood and smoke. Olivia, 11, jolts awake, heart pounding like a drum. She peeks out. Mark, sprawled at the stairs. Joshua, lifeless, eyes open. And there, her eldest brother, Glock in hand, moving like a ghost over the bodies. She dives under her blanket, breath trapped, as he steps into her room. The gun hovers, inches from her face. Bang! Pain tears through her hand, her neck. She bites her tongue, plays dead, blood pooling warm. His shadow lingers, then fades. She bolts. Window, grass, neighbor's door, pounding, screaming. He's killing us! Deputies swarm in, 7 minutes later. The boy stands outside, hands up, voice shaking. Benjamin did it. Inside, Benjamin lies staged, Glock forced in his grip, but the blood, the angles. They scream setup. Olivia from a hospital bed whispers, it was him. The 911 call. Not from the bathroom, a neighbor's phone. The lie cracks open, and the why, rage, envy, a fracture in a perfect team, starts to claw free, pulling us toward truths that'll haunt you, make you question the faces you trust most. Don't blink. The next piece might change it all. What would you do if the people you loved most, the ones you saw every day, shared meals with, laughed with, were hiding something so dark it could shatter everything in a single night? In the spring of 2025, in a quiet Washington suburb, the Harper family's ordinary life unraveled in a way no one could have foreseen. A single gunshot would echo through their home, leaving questions that linger to this day. This is their story, and it starts with a dinner that seemed like any other. In the sleepy town of Cedar Hollow, Washington, spring rain falls softly, streaking the windows of homes lined up along tiny cul-de-sacs. The streets are named after trees: maple, oak, cedar, each one curving into the next, where bikes lean against garages and mailboxes stand like sentinels. The Harper House, a modest two-story with white siding and a red door, blends into the rhythm of the neighborhood. Inside, the living room is a shrine to small victories. A glass cabinet holds school trophies, soccer medals from years past, a debate plaque, a polished piano award catching the glow of a table lamp. The air smells faintly of lemon cleaner and fresh coffee, the kind of home where routines feel sacred. David Harper, 46, is the steady heartbeat of the family. A high school math teacher, he's the kind of man who organizes his desk with military precision, pens aligned, papers stacked. Every Saturday, he's up before dawn, loading his fishing gear into a battered pickup for a trip to Lake Chelan. He'll come back with stories of the one that got away. A trout so big it nearly pulled me in, he'd say, grinning while his kids rolled their eyes. Last June, he spent an entire weekend untangling a lure from a tree branch, only to laugh it off over burgers with his buddies. David's the dad who never misses a school event, even if it means grading papers late into the night. Lisa Harper, 44, is the family's quiet strength. A nurse at the local clinic, she's known for her steady hands and steadier heart. She's the one neighbors call when a kid scrapes a knee or a fever spikes. Every fall, Lisa runs the town's food drive, her clipboard a constant companion as she rallies volunteers with her warm, no-nonsense charm. Just last month, she spent hours sorting canned goods in the community center, humming old jazz tunes under her breath. At home, she's the peacemaker, the one who knows exactly how to nudge David away from a bad mood or coax Emma into practicing one more song. Emma Harper, 12, is the dreamer. Small for her age, with a cascade of brown curls, she spends hours at the family's upright piano, her fingers coaxing out Beethoven or, when no one's listening, a clumsy rendition of a Taylor Swift hit. She's shy but fierce when it counts. Last year, she played a recital with a 101-degree fever, her face pale but her notes perfect. The audience stood, clapping, and Emma just ducked her head, embarrassed by the attention. She keeps a notebook of song lyrics under her bed, scribbled in glittery gel pen, dreams of composing her own music one day. Ethan Harper, 17, is harder to pin down. A junior at Cedar High, he's lanky, with dark hair that flops over his eyes and a habit of slouching in chairs like he's trying to disappear. He's not the star athlete or the class president, just a kid who runs track, pulls bees, and blends into the background. His locker is a mess of crumpled papers and energy drink cans. He used to joke around with his friends like Jake Turner, who'd rib him about his terrible aim in pickup basketball. But lately, Ethan's been different. He's been weird, Jake told a classmate in the cafeteria last week, stirring his soda. Like he got mad when I borrowed his pen. A pen. He just stormed off. Another friend, Sarah, noticed Ethan skipping their usual study group, sitting alone at the library with his hoodie up, staring at his phone. Teachers chalked it up to teenage moodiness, but his absence from the group chat felt heavier, like a thread slowly unraveling. The Harpers' life seemed as predictable as the rain outside their windows. On April 14, 2025, they sat down for dinner. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans steaming on the table. David teased Emma about practicing her scales. Lisa passed the gravy, reminding Ethan about his history project. Ethan shrugged, picking at his food, his phone face down beside his plate. It was a scene played out in countless homes across Cedar Hollow. But hours after that seemingly normal family dinner, the house would be silent, except for the echo of a single firearm. What happened in those hours? What pushed a quiet teen, a boy who once laughed at his dad's fishing stories, to a point of no return? The truth is locked in the walls of that house in the moments no one saw coming. Stay with us as we unravel the mystery piece by piece, because the answers aren't what you think. And if you're not subscribed, Ask yourself why. Are you afraid to face what's coming? Don't miss this. Hit that button now, or head to the comments and tell us why you're holding back. This story will grip you, haunt you, and make you question everything. What really happened to the Harpers, and could it happen to you? Imagine a night so ordinary it could be yours. A family dinner, the clink of dishes, the hum of a TV in the background. Now imagine that same night ending in a single, shattering gunshot that changes everything. In Cedar Hollow, Washington, on April 14, 2025, the Harper family's home went from a haven to a crime scene in hours. A teenager's trembling voice would accuse his own father. But the truth? It's far murkier than it seems. Stay glued, because what you're about to hear will claw at your mind and make you question the safety of your own home. That evening started quietly. At 6:32 p.m., the Harper's doorbell camera caught a grocery delivery boy dropping off bags: milk, eggs, a loaf of bread. Lisa Harper opened the red front door, gave a quick nod, and the boy biked off into the spring rain. Neighbors heard nothing unusual. The Wilsons across the street were lost in a sitcom's laugh track. Mrs. Carter next door was in her garden, clipping roses until the light faded, the air thick with damp soil. It was just another night, she'd later tell police, her voice tinged with disbelief. Inside, the Harpers ate roast chicken and mashed potatoes. By 8 p.m., Emma was at the piano, her notes floating softly. Ethan was in his room, door shut, phone in hand. David and Lisa sat on the couch, a documentary about whales droning on. The house felt alive, wrapped in the comfort of routine. Police rolled up at 2:29 a.m., their lights cutting through the rain. The Harper house stood dark, save for a faint glow from the living room. The front door was unlocked, cracked open just enough to make officers pause. Stepping inside, they caught a faint whiff of gunpowder, sharp and metallic. The foyer led to a living room on the right, kitchen ahead, stairs to the left. The trophy cabinet, soccer medals, a debate plaque, Emma's piano award, glinted under a flickering bulb. Upstairs was worse. David Harper, 46, was slumped against the headboard in the master bedroom, a bullet hole in his chest. Lisa, 44, lay on the floor, 2 shots to her torso, her nightgown soaked red. In her room, 12-year-old Emma was still in bed, a stuffed bear under her arm, a bullet through her temple. The piano downstairs sat untouched, its music gone. Near the stairs, a Glock 19 lay on the hardwood, close to where David might have fallen. It was his, registered for protection, he'd once told a neighbor. But the real shock was outside. Ethan Harper, 17, sat on the wet lawn, knees to his chest, rain dripping from his hair. "Dad, he did it," he whispered to the officers, his voice raw. "I heard shots, I ran." The scene pointed to David, a family man turned killer. But cracks appeared fast. An unlocked door? Ethan, unharmed outside? A single gun? 3 deaths in minutes? Something didn't add up. What happened in those hours after dinner? Was Ethan's story true, or was he hiding a piece of the puzzle? This is where the questions burn. Could a father like David snap? Or is there more to Ethan's trembling words? If you're not subscribed, stop and think. Are you scared to know the truth? Hit that button now, because this story will grip you tighter with every turn. If you won't subscribe, go to the comments and tell us why. What's stopping you from facing what comes next? This isn't just a story, it's a warning. What happened to the Harpers could be closer to your life than you think. Stay with us, because the next piece will shake you to your core. Deceptions. They hide in plain sight, woven into tearful confessions, trembling hands, and stories that sound just true enough to believe. On April 14, 2025, in Cedar Hollow, Washington, the Harper family's home became a stage, and Ethan Harper's words, "Dad did it," set the scene. But as detectives peeled back the layers, the cracks in his story grew too wide to ignore. What they found wasn't just a tragedy, it was a puzzle with pieces that didn't fit. Stay with us, because the truth behind that fateful night will twist your mind and make you question who you can trust in your own life. By sunrise, the Harper house was cordoned off, yellow tape flapping in the spring drizzle. Detectives Karen Walsh and Tom Rivera took over, their boots heavy on the hardwood. The scene was chilling. David Harper, 46, dead in the master bedroom, a single shot to his chest. Lisa, 44, on the floor, 2 bullets in her torso. Emma, 12, in her bed. A bullet through her temple, her stuffed bear still clutched tight. The Glock 19, found near the stairs, seemed to point to David, a father, a teacher, a man who'd never raised a fist. But Ethan's story, delivered in a shaking whisper on the wet lawn, was already fraying at the edges. First, the gunshot residue. Ethan swore he never touched the gun, that he'd only heard the shots and ran. Yet forensic techs swabbed his hands, and the results came back positive. Traces of barium and antimony, unmistakable markers of someone who'd fired a weapon. Walsh raised an eyebrow when the report hit her desk. He said he was in his room, she noted, her voice low. So how's he got residue on his hands? Rivera shook his head, circling back to Ethan's claim. Dad did it. But the trajectory angles told a different story. David's wound was clean, a straight shot, but the angle suggested the gun was fired from a standing position, not by his own hand slumped against the headboard. Lisa's wounds were at odd angles too, as if the shooter moved quickly, not methodically. Emma's shot was precise, almost too precise for a frantic act. Suicide? The math wasn't adding up. Then there was the home security system. The Harpers had cameras, doorbell, back porch, living room. But the footage from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. was gone, a 4-hour gap that should have shown movement, lights, anything. The system hadn't been tampered with externally. Someone inside had disabled it. Ethan was home, Rivera said, flipping through the tech's report. He's the only one who could have touched it. The detectives stood in the Harpers' living room, the trophy cabinet glinting behind them, and wondered, what was Ethan hiding? Interviews with neighbors and classmates painted a troubling picture. Mrs. Carter, the rose-pruning neighbor, recalled hearing raised voices from the Harper house a week prior. David's firm tone, Ethan's sharp retorts. It wasn't like them, she said, fidgeting with her gardening gloves. They were always so normal. At Cedar High, Ethan's friend Jake Turner told detectives about Ethan's growing distance. He'd get mad over nothing, Jake said. Like, 2 weeks ago he flipped out when I asked why he skipped track practice. Said his dad was on his case all the time. Sarah, another classmate, mentioned Ethan's late-night walks, how he'd pace the cul-de-sac alone, muttering to himself. Small signs, easily missed, but now they loomed large. The Glock itself raised more questions. Forensics counted 3 rounds fired, 1 for David, 2 for Lisa, 1 for Emma. The magazine held 15 rounds, 11 remained. No suppressor was found, but the shots were oddly muffled, neighbors claiming they heard nothing until Ethan's 911 call. Fingerprints were a mess. David's on the grip, expected since it was his gun, but Ethan's prints were there too, smudged but clear. He said he never touched it, Walsh muttered, staring at the lab report. So why's his name all over it? Would you have spotted these contradictions? The residue, the angles, the missing footage, the fingerprints, each a thread pulling at Ethan's story. Put yourself in the detective's shoes. What would you ask next? Hold that thought, because the deeper this case goes, the more it'll haunt you. If you're not subscribed, pause and ask yourself, are you afraid to face the truth? Hit that button now, or head to the comments and tell us why you're holding back. This story isn't just about a crime, it's about what lies beneath the surface of the people you think you know. Truth has a way of hiding in plain sight, buried in the things we touch every day, our phones, our words, our secrets. As detectives dug into Ethan Harper's life, they found a trail that turned a grieving son into a suspect. The evidence wasn't just in the house, it was in the digital footprints he couldn't erase. Every search, every message, tightened the noose around his story. What drove a 17-year-old to unravel his family's world? Stay with us, because the answers will shake you to your core. The breakthrough came with Ethan's phone. Forensic techs cracked it open, pulling data from the weeks before April 14th. At 1:14 a.m. on April 10th, Ethan searched "how to stage a suicide." At 2:03 a.m. on April 12th, he typed "inheritance age requirements, Washington State." Other searches were vaguer, but chilling. Gunshot sound distance. How long for police to respond? His browser history wasn't cleared. It was as if he didn't expect anyone to look. Detectives sat back, stunned. "This kid was planning something," Rivera said, his voice tight. Social media told another story. Ethan's DMs with Jake showed a growing resentment. "Dad's always on me about grades," he wrote on March 28th. "Won't let me breathe." Another message, sent to Sarah on April 2nd, read, "They think they can control everything. I'm done." The messages weren't threats, but they carried a weight that hadn't been there before. Jake told detectives Ethan had been off for months, complaining about family rules, curfews, phone checks, no car until he raised his GPA. He hated it, Jake said his dad treated him like a kid. Then came the interrogation. Ethan sat in a gray room at the Cedar Hollow station, his hoodie damp from the rain, his eyes darting. At first, he stuck to his story. "I was in my room. I heard Dad yell, then shots. I ran outside." But under Walsh's steady questions, he faltered. I don't remember if he yelled," he said an hour later, rubbing his hands. "It happened fast." By the third hour, he was quiet, staring at the table, saying only, "I don't know." Detectives noted his shifting story, the way his hands shook when asked about the gun. "He's not telling us everything," Walsh said, her pen tapping the notepad. Each piece of evidence, the searches, the messages, the contradictions, painted a picture of a teenager with a plan. But why? Was it resentment over rules? A grab for inheritance? Or something deeper, hidden in the quiet of that house? The deeper detectives dug, the less Ethan's story held. What would you do if you found these clues? Would you believe a boy who lost his family or see a killer hiding in plain sight? If you're not subscribed, stop and think. Are you ready to face what's coming? This story will grip your heart and refuse to let go. Hit that button now, because the next twist will leave you speechless. If you won't subscribe, go to the comments and tell us why. What's keeping you from diving into this mystery? The Harper case isn't just a crime. It's a mirror to the secrets we all keep. Stay with us, because the final piece of this puzzle will change everything you thought you knew. Betrayal. It's a word that cuts deep, especially when it comes from the ones you trust most. In Cedar Hollow, Washington on April 14, 2025, Ethan Harper, a 17-year-old boy, stood at the center of a tragedy that left his family dead and a quiet town reeling. He pointed the finger at his father, but the evidence, gunshot residue, missing footage, damning phone searches, told a different story. Now, in a courtroom packed with whispers and grief, the truth would finally speak. What drove a teenager to destroy his own family? Stay with us, because the confession you're about to hear will haunt you long after the gavel falls. The trial began in October 2025, in a small courthouse on the edge of Cedar Hollow. The prosecution, led by ADA Laura Chen, laid out a meticulous timeline. They painted Ethan as a calculated planner, not a grieving son. The Glock's fingerprints, his phone's searches, how to stage a suicide, inheritance age requirements, and the security system's 4-hour gap were damning. Ethan Harper orchestrated this, Chen told the jury, her voice steady. He fired the shots that killed David, Lisa, and Emma Harper, then placed the gun to make it look like his father's doing. The courtroom sat hushed as she described the angles of the bullets, how David's wound couldn't have been self-inflicted, how Emma's precise shot suggested a steady hand, not a frantic one. The defense, led by public defender Michael Ortiz, leaned hard on Ethan's mental health. He was a teenager under pressure, Ortiz argued, his tone earnest. A strict household, mounting expectations, a mind fraying under stress. They brought in a psychologist, Dr. Emily Hahn, who testified Ethan showed signs of depression, worsened by family rules, curfews, phone checks, a father who demanded better grades. He wasn't himself, Hahn said, adjusting her glasses. He was lost in a fog of resentment and untreated pain. The defense claimed Ethan acted in a dissociative state, not with premeditation, but the jury's faces remained hard, unmoved by pleas of a broken mind. Then came the confession. On day 5 of the trial, Ethan took the stand, his lanky frame hunched, his eyes avoiding the gallery. "I thought I could make it look like Dad did it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was so angry. They kept pushing me. Rules, always rules. I just wanted out." He described the night, disabling the security system after dinner, waiting until the house was quiet, taking the Glock from his father's safe. He admitted firing the shots, first David, then Lisa, then Emma, his voice cracking as he said her name. "I didn't mean for her to... I just wanted it to be over." The courtroom froze, jurors gripping their notepads, a sob breaking from Lisa's sister in the back row. Ethan was sentenced to life without parole, convicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder. As of September 2025, he's housed at a juvenile facility in Washington, awaiting transfer to an adult prison at 18. The Harper house sits empty, its red door faded, the trophy cabinet gathering dust. Cedar Hollow hasn't been the same since. The irony cuts like a knife. Ethan Harper tried to silence the truth with a single echo from a Glock, but that echo exposed him, ringing louder than his lies ever could. A family dinner, a quiet suburb, a boy who seemed ordinary, until he wasn't. What pushes someone to such a breaking point? Is evil born, a seed planted at birth? Or is it built, piece by piece, in the weight of unspoken pain? Think about it. Could this darkness live in someone you know, waiting for the right moment to emerge? Share your thoughts below. Was justice served? Or is this a deeper tragedy, a cry for help ignored until it was too late? If you're not subscribed, pause and ask yourself, are you afraid to face the next story, the next truth? Hit that button now, because our next case, a disappearance where the only witness was a smart speaker, will grip you just as tightly. If you won't subscribe, head to the comments and tell us why. What's holding you back from unraveling the mysteries that could be closer to your life than you think? Stay with us, because the stories we tell don't just entertain, they make you question everything.